It was humiliation for Manchester United at the hands of Liverpool at Old Trafford. Unprecedented. These are record-breaking runs for all the wrong reasons for Manchester United.
Yeah.
We talked about Cristiano Ronaldo and the issues that bringing him in, with all the caveats that he is Cristiano Ronaldo and everything good that he brings, but the issues that might have caused. And now Manchester United have got Tottenham, they've got Atalanta coming up in midweek in the Champions League, and we know the issues that they had with them in the first half, despite the turnaround in the second half. And then they've got the Manchester derby at Old Trafford. Then it's the international break. This is going to be, if they weren't feeling the heat before now, this is going to be a cauldron for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
It is, and you know, he's been very fortunate in big games and like really kind of career-defining games for him, going into them. And for some reason, somewhere or other, they've found a way of getting out of it. But you have to say, watching the Leicester performance, watching the Liverpool performance, you have to feel that, is he going to be able to iron out what needs to be done for Tottenham? And we're talking about Tottenham side themselves and not creating too much. So from his point of view, he might get away with one there. But the fact is, coming with City coming up, and don't look too far ahead. I can't understand, knowing how you have to do the closing down and what it takes to learn how to do the closing down as a team. What's going to change from what we've seen now? What I said a year ago, I'm not kind of understanding what they're doing, to what's going to change in a few days.
But as you said, this has been about performances rather than results, because the results have been good, by and large, for Manchester United. But the performances maybe have led up to this point. You could have looked at them and pointed to maybe that result against Liverpool last weekend. With Ole Gunnar Solskjaer having been in the position for close to 3 years now, is there a sign that he can fix this around? Because as we all understand, he's going to stay in the job for the time being at least.
Potentially, I mean, you look at under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think, was it third? Then they finished second last season. Although I look at that second last season, certainly in terms of, it was a transition season. You look at Liverpool decimated by injuries. Chelsea had the whole Thomas Tuchel.
And the lockdown season as well.
Exactly. Thomas Tuchel, Frank Lampard, so there was that, and obviously Manchester City went on to win it. But I look at Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think it's more so the players have been getting him out of trouble rather than the actual tactical decisions that he's been making. Atalanta, and I thought that would be the case. They started off appalling against Atalanta. Found themselves 2-0 down, as you said. Then they managed to come back to get the result. But unfortunately for them, Atalanta are not in the same bracket as Liverpool in terms of quality, in terms of desire, hunger, pace, energy. So it was no surprise to me that they ended up being 4-0 down at half-time, because, quite simply, they haven't come up the traps in most of their games in the first half good enough. But I think the players are still behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But I just think, unfortunately, at that elite level, and you'd have to say Manchester United are an elite football club. You look at their three competitors: Manchester City, elite manager; Liverpool, elite manager; Chelsea, elite manager. They're the only ones without one. So I think when it gets to that high end of football, it is the little decisions that you make that ultimately will win you a game or lose you a game. And I just don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is there, or will he ever really get there. So I think when it comes to the head-to-heads between the big sides, and even the sides like an Everton, who've got Rafa Benitez, again, tactically a very good manager, I think they're always going to struggle. So can I see them competing with Manchester United, with the other big three, while Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's in charge at this current stage? I really can't.
And they're coming up against Nuno Espirito Santo this weekend. His Tottenham side. He's known as a tactical coach, even if at times it's been quite negative, and certainly that was the case at Wolves, apart from in bursts of their play. And we've seen some more of that at Tottenham. There's a bit of confusion about quite what they want to do, Spurs. And arguably a similar situation with Manchester United, in that Ronaldo's there but doesn't really seem to work with what they do. Nuno came in expecting Harry Kane to be gone. He's there. You've got a brilliant player, world-class player, but although it's getting better, that seems to be a bit of an issue, because the best result of the season was the opening day win against Man City without him. Yeah,
and actually, the opening day season, it was actually like what the guys have alluded to there. It was like one of those old Solskjaer wins in big games, whereas they left because the opposition, you know what they're going to do, which is City or Liverpool. They'll play the way they'll play. It almost made a tactical decision for a Solskjaer or a Nuno easy, because all they just do is sit back and then counter, which made it all the more surprising that United played that way on Sunday. that he didn't adjust. Now, I know we're going back to United there. Well, it does feel like a game between two teams that are really just... There's a lot of confusion clouding both at the moment. And even at Spurs, you can sense it off the fans at the moment. There's this kind of apathy growing because the only style that's really working for Nuno is one where they're that bit more cautious. But that's not what they want to do. It's not very inspiring. And it's just created... I mean, it's a really interesting game on Saturday.
But it could be a terrible game.
Exactly. It's a compelling game, but not necessarily entertaining game.
Yeah.
You know something? I think with Nuno, his major problem is his midfield. You've got Harry Kane, who's not getting chances. We know everything what's happened with Harry Kane at this point. His body language is, he's trying to do his stuff. He's trying to get on with it. But then when you're looking at an Ndombele, a Lo Celso, who are supposed to me to be the creative element of Tottenham, they're just not consistent enough. And then if he's going to play Skip, Højbjerg, and maybe Winks, then you can't see a lot of creativity coming from that. Dele Alli, for me, Son, and the fact that Dele Alli has to really done his best work being that second striker. Son's doing that now, so what happens to Dele Alli? And I look at them and again, with Tottenham, I can't see where it's going to get better. I can't see the pattern of what they're trying to do.
The difference between them is the amount of time they've both been in the job. So we're sort of looking at a project that's taken place up to 3 years and a project that's taken place since the summer up to, what is this, the end of October, that sort of time. So, a few months. But there is a difference in terms of the time. But even in that short time, do you think that there is a pattern, a structure to how Tottenham want to play under Nuno, or how Nuno wants Tottenham to play?
I think there is a structure, but I think, unfortunately, with the players that he's got, I'm not quite sure it suits it. And as Harry Kane, listen, he's one of the best out there. But I think the way Nuno wants to play doesn't suit the way Harry Kane wants to play, if that makes sense. You look at when he was at Wolves, he had, obviously, Jimenez, who could run quick, Jota, Traore at times, Neto. These guys have all got tremendous speed. You look at the way they played against Manchester City first game of the season, because that has been their best performance. That was without Harry Kane, when they had Lucas Moura, they had Bergwijn, they had Song, 3 guys that they could sit in there, they could kind of just to be defensively solid, and then on their counter-attack, just go. I think when you've got Harry Kane, and as I said, he is one of the best out there, you can't play that way because he doesn't want to play that way. He doesn't want to stand up there and hit teams on a counter-attack. He wants to get involved, he wants to drop deep, obviously assist Son, assist Lucas Moura. So I think there is an identity into the way he wants to play, but I just think the way that the way the Spurs players are at the minute, they don't want it, and the Spurs supporters don't want to play that, want to see that. Under Jose, he tried it. They didn't want to watch it. They were moaning every single week. And now that he's gone there, Nuno, which is the same type of football, again, they kind of feel like it's just grinding the gears a little bit. It's the same thing that Mourinho was doing.
Can you change the football while keeping, by and large, the same players? Or do you have to stick with that kind of football until you can bring in more of your own players to do what you want them to do?
But isn't that exactly it? I mean, it does feel like the wider issue with Spurs as well. We're still basically in the remnants of the Pochettino team. Now, OK, half of them have moved on, but still the core is still Poch's team. So what that squad and that club really needed was a complete refresh. But they haven't done that. Instead, rather than
that's
refresh...
what Poch wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of seeing that, it feels like they're going staler and staler. And while Nuno might be good in a certain situation, a certain club, the football isn't inspiring. So he's just fed into that whole sense that the club is at the moment kind of just existing rather than actually striving in the way they were under Pochettino.
It's almost like with Nuno as well, that it's the kind of manager I'm trying to see how it fits. And, we saw it off of the back of the Man City, you're thinking, oh, OK, Tottenham, Nuno's going to... But, like, since then, I've not seen anything. And I thought, even though the Arsenal result was one that obviously we're very pleased with from Arsenal point of view, it wasn't a Tottenham team that turned up there that looked to me like they knew what they were doing. So I'm not going to take anything away from what Arsenal done because you have to put a team away. And I thought Arsenal done it very ruthlessly. But at the same time, I looked at the Tottenham side and I'm seeing... I didn't know what their game plan was, and I think that Nuno is very pragmatic with what he does. You're saying Mourinho, I think he's a level down as well in respect of his game. It's even more, for me, like pragmatic and on the brakes kind of stuff. And for me, Tottenham need a lot more than that. And like I say, what choice? I don't know what choice he was. 5th, 6th, 7th choice
even
manager.
further down, I'd say.
You know what I mean?
But they actually said, didn't the sort of... the word from Tottenham at the beginning was, when he was first mentioned, no, we don't want him, we don't want that kind of manager. and then
crazy.
ended up going back to him.
And even whatever about what choice he was, what's even more strange in all this, Daniel Levy actually released a statement where he articulated exactly the type of manager Spurs wanted. We talk about attacking football, front foot football, and yet then he goes for a manager that's just not associated with that. Which just kind of points to the
Again,
confusion.
don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Daniel Levy as well.
I half wonder, if he, maybe part of Nuno maybe thought, you know what, maybe we do cash in on Kane. Maybe potentially you go, you know what, then you give me 140 million to spend and I can kind of mould it in the way that I kind of want it. But as you're saying there, he's got Kane there. It's not that he doesn't look interested, but he doesn't suit the way Nuno wants to play football in terms of that kind of pragmatic, counter-attacking football. So half of me even thinks that, it'd be a loss to Spurs, although they haven't won anything with Kane, by the way. It's not like they're winning trophies week in, week, like season on, season out, so you can't let him go. They haven't won anything since 2008. So I wonder if he half looked at that situation and went, you know what?
Kane's won golden boots and
But he individually, but as a club, they haven't really they haven't won anything. I mean, Champions League finals, obviously, their last kind of big success, if you can call it that. But it's one of them. I think he half looked at that and thought, I could do a lot with that money. I could bring in 3 or 4 good players, ones that will suit the way I manage, and I take the club forward that way. But he's almost been stuck with Pochettino's kind of stuck in, as you said there, Pochettino's kind of.
He's got a great elite player who doesn't really want to be there, as we've seen all summer.
Doesn't really want to be there, doesn't want to be there.
And then not only does he have a player who doesn't want to be there, he also doesn't have the money to invest in players who do want to be there. It's a difficult situation.
I can't wait to see how it unravels with the way what was going to happen at the start, whether he's going to leave, and because where Harry Kane was going to leave, because you just get an impression that Nuno, when he stayed, it was almost like, he's staying. So now he can't do maybe what Darren's mentioning there and bring in a couple of players that he wanted to kind of embed his style into the team. And now it just feels like they're just ambling along.
So if you look at Spurs and Manchester United ahead of this game, are there similarities in that, post Alex Ferguson, David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, and now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, all very different types of managers. And yes, you look at Van Gaal and Mourinho and they are big-name managers, but they weren't big-name managers at the peak of their powers when they went to Manchester United. And then you look at Tottenham and you think, post-Pochettino and that ask for the refresh, it was, well, stay with Pochettino for a bit, then make the changes, then now we get to the stage with Nuno. Is there a similarity there in that there doesn't seem to be a clear plan of what they want from a manager? Does that seem like a similarity between them?
I think it's completely. And even I suppose if you look at Spurs, I have heard this argument articulated a lot, but basically that Daniel Levy isn't really a great judge of a manager and he's looked out on one who transformed the club. But even if you look at that, before Pochettino came in, they had this kind of director of football structure. Got rid of that for Pochettino, who kind of became more of a Ferguson figure in that it was an all-encompassing manager. Now Pochettino's gone, and they've brought in Paratici and have returned to that kind of. And it's interesting the way it's gone at Manchester United as well, because that's been such a long-running debate at United whether they should bring in a director of football. Instead, they kind of keep bouncing between these managers. And it was personally, I don't think they should have appointed Mourinho at that point of his career. But I think Mourinho had legitimate complaints about the power structure of the club, especially when, if you're going to make him the manager rather than the head coach, there were so many times where he didn't get the players he wanted, particularly in the summer of 2018, where he wanted a centre half. And
you can't give him an excuse.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it does point to exactly what you're saying. It feels like this kind of confusion in terms of the pecking order, the clarity as regards decisions, and even the way Solskjaer has now returned to where he's trying to fashion himself as a manager overseeing everything and isn't what best practices these days, which is managers like Tuchel, like Klopp, like Guardiola, who are all very much training ground coaches.
Once he gets his game even more defined, end product, more examples like that. Don't get the ball at your feet and hit the target.